I'm Shannon.
And I'm Holly, and this is a Girls Gone Curious podcast, where we talk about things that make us curious. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and relax, because your show is loading. Today's episode includes the following trigger warnings: mentioning topics of sexual assault of a minor, abductions, assault, attempted kidnapping, sex trafficking ring, and murder. This podcast is not suitable for children. Please listen with care. We do apologize if we say any of the names or places wrong in today's case. This week's true crime category is unsolved. So, let's get into it.
Imagine it's the 1980s, a time period when people didn't lock their doors, kids would go outside to play and not be back home until the streetlights came on. Newspapers were delivered early in the morning by kids, and the beginning of pictures of missing children on milk cartons. This is the case of the missing Paperboys. Johnny was born in 1969 to parents Noreen and John Gosh. Johnny was known for being helpful, playful, and kind-hearted. He was also known for sticking up for kids who were being bullied. In one instance, he stopped 4 neighborhood boys from picking on smaller children. He loved to ride dirt bikes and hang out with friends and family. Johnny had 2 siblings at this time and a dog named Gretchen. Johnny had decided he wanted to earn some extra money for model rockets and his dirt bike, so he got a job as a newspaper carrier for his area. This would entail getting up early in the morning, walking or riding a bike to where the newspaper would be dropped off, hand rolling and banding the papers together, and then delivering them to the subscribers. This would also entail the paper carrier having to go back to the subscriber's home once a month to collect the fee. Side note, the pickup location for Johnny was just 850 feet from his house. It was located on the first corner of 42nd Street. In order for Johnny to get there, he would cut through a neighbor's backyard, and that would lead him to Ashworth Street. Then he would walk the short distance to the corner of 42nd Street. On September 5th, 1982, it started out the same as any other day for delivering papers. September 5th being a weekend, the papers that were delivered on weekends are usually much larger than the weekday papers. Johnny usually would wake up his dad, and his dad would help him, but for whatever reason that particular day, Johnny wanted to do it himself. Johnny would wake up and get ready for his route. He would get Gretchen ready also, and they would head out to get the papers delivered. Johnny would be stopped by someone in a blue 2-toned Ford Fairmount. Side note, Ford Fairmounts were manufactured from 1978 to 1983. Ford produced 1.6 million of these vehicles. They were ideal because they were fuel efficient, and that was the focus of car manufacturers during that time frame. And it is mentioned a couple of times for vehicles. The driver of the vehicle was said to have asked for directions to 86th Street. Johnny, not knowing, turned to where the other kids were and the one adult, John Rossi, for directions. The driver of the vehicle would then make a rapid U-turn and speed off. Nobody thought anything of it, so Johnny would finish rolling and banding his papers together and then place them into his wagon. He would head north on 42nd Street with Gretchen by his side. As he was walking, 2 paper carriers passed Johnny on their way to pick up their papers. When the 2 boys got their papers and began to head back north, they noticed Johnny's wagon, but no Johnny and no Gretchen. It was later determined that Johnny's wagon was only 475 feet from the drop-off point. At 7:30 a.m. that morning, the Goshes would get a phone call asking when their newspaper would be delivered. Noreen and John Sr. noticed that Gretchen was home, but Johnny was not. John would head to the drop-off point and notice that the wagon was there full of newspapers, but Johnny was nowhere to be found. The Goshes would call the police to state that their son is missing. During this time and in the state of Iowa, missing person reports weren't taken until after 24 hours had passed. So the police didn't believe that Johnny's disappearance was a kidnapping, but did show up later in the afternoon to help conduct a search.
Which is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
I can't believe that was a thing,
Mhm.
and
I agree too. Like, he had no
prior hints. He had a planned route that he
Right.
was supposed to be doing, but
Right.
he went missing during that planned route.
Well, and all the kids that were there with him saw him rubber banding everything together. The father of one of the kids, John Rossi, saw him as well doing it, and so he was planning on continuing his route and
finishing.
Yeah. So 2 of the other paper carriers told police about the car that had stopped and asked for directions and then sped off, and another stated that they saw Johnny talking to a stocky white man on the corner, but they weren't sure if it was the driver of the vehicle that was seen earlier. A boy who lived across the street from the paper drop-off location would state that he heard a car door slam. It would wake him up. He looked out the window and saw what he thought was a silver and black Ford Fairmont speed off going north and ran through the stop sign.
I bet it was actually two-tone blue.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a kid, so
Yeah, and he was sleeping and,
just woke up. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, not to mention he could be partly colorblind as well. You don't know.
Yeah, and streetlights, all the things.
Either way, it was a Ford Fairmont.
Yeah.
So.
Police would gather information and have a composite sketch done up. The police would never release the sketch to the Gosh family or to the public.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why would they even take the sketch if they're not
That's
gonna?
what I don't understand that at all. Like, why would they do that? Police stated that they weren't ruling out anything, but were not listing it as an abduction due to lack of evidence, and that they believed it was just another runaway case. No evidence whatsoever that Johnny was a runaway or had in the past any type of problems, but that's just what they labeled it as. They also believe that in most cases, if there is an abduction, they would have heard demands from the abductors by the end of the day. Police waited 2 days before they treated this as a possible abduction.
What happened to 24 hours?
Yeah, exactly. Apparently they needed 48 hours. Noreen stated that an officer said, "We have no crime," and her response was, "Well, we no longer have a son, do we?" This is when there would be a break from the police department. The Goshes felt that the police did not do their job and just sat back with their feet up on their desks. They felt that the police were not taking this seriously and weren't listening to anyone regarding their son. They would then hire a private investigator and would release their own composite sketches. In order to pay for the expenses of the private investigator, the Goshes created the Help Find Johnny Gosh, Inc. The fundraising would include charity events, selling candy, selling buttons, and asking for donations. Flyers of Johnny are put up everywhere, and when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. They were sent nationwide to basically anybody who would take them, they would send them. Noreen and John would start the challenging task of making a law so that officers have to take action immediately when a child disappears. While the Goshes are continuing their efforts to find their son, the Des Moines Police Department finds itself on the front page of the newspaper as well. The chief is being investigated for fixing tickets for his friends and family members, working while intoxicated, racially prejudiced, and interfering with investigations. The most recent investigation against one of his sons. The mayor stating that 18 of the 37 police officers in that department made allegations against the chief, and those allegations cannot be ignored. The chief would end up resigning, and an internal investigation would begin. Of course, the chief would be found innocent of most of the charges, but some he was found guilty of. I couldn't find which ones he was found guilty of.
And he probably just got like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. The Goshes would explain that they believe the chief hindered the investigation regarding the disappearance of their son. A month prior to the disappearance of Johnny, John had reported a woman taking pictures of his son. She was in her vehicle, and the vehicle had California license plates. The chief didn't acknowledge this information then or after Johnny's disappearance. The night before the disappearance, at a football game, a police officer was seen talking to Johnny under the bleachers. The chief refused to provide the names of the officers working the game that night. It wouldn't be until years later when the officer's name would be released. That officer would also be cleared in the investigation.
I doubt he's innocent. I doubt it. I don't believe it. Not for a second.
Tips would come in daily regarding Johnny's disappearance, especially once the flyers were sent nationwide. A girl called in from Bend, Oregon, stating that she believed she saw Johnny at the skating rink she was at, and the reason why she called is because she just saw the flyer at a truck stop. Other tips would come in from psychics stating that Johnny was dead and would be found within 2 miles of their home near a creek. There were searches conducted, and Johnny was not found. They followed up on every bit of information they received. It didn't matter what it was. The thought of not following a tip and that being the one thing to find Johnny would be too much to bear. The Goshes would meet up with other parents that have had their children reported missing, and from that, the Missing and Exploited Children Foundation was created in June 1984. In between organizing searches, creating an organization for resources for parents of missing children, and fundraising, the Goshes were still fighting to have a change in the actions the police took after Johnny's disappearance. The Johnny Gosh law that the Goshes were continuously fighting for was finally made into law on July 1st, 1984. This law states that police have to take immediate action once a child is reported missing. Just 43 days after the Johnny Gosh law was official, another paper carrier would go missing in Des Moines. 13-year-old Eugene, nicknamed Gene Martin, got a paper route so he could save money for the carnival that was coming up. Gene had 5 siblings and lived with his father and stepmother. He loved fishing, skating, playing football, and his Saturday morning cartoons. He was excited because his 14th birthday was coming up the following week. August 12, 1984, Gene would get up early and head out at 5 a.m. He would walk to the drop-off location for the newspaper in his area at 14th and Highview Street. He would begin rolling and banding the papers together before starting out on his route. 45 minutes later, the Des Moines Register would begin getting calls of papers not being delivered. The route manager would drive over to the pickup location for Gene's area and found his carrier bag on the ground full of papers. The manager thought Gene just left, so he delivered the papers himself and then went to Gene's home to find out what had happened. It wasn't until then that it was realized Gene was missing. With the new law in place, police officers took immediate action. Officers would create roadblocks, and the FBI would send in agents as well. It was mentioned that there was a possibility that Gene's case could be connected to Johnny's. Many parents would begin to accompany their children on their paper routes if they continued to keep it. The manager of the Des Moines Register demanded that 49 supervisors begin going to the drop-off locations in the mornings to monitor the area. The newspaper would put up a $25,000 reward for any information regarding Johnny or Gene. Witnesses stated that they saw Gene talking to a clean-cut man while he was rolling and banding his newspapers. They said that it seemed to be a friendly conversation like a father and son.
Bullshit.
The Goshes would provide support to the Martins. Many neighbors and people they didn't know would also stop by and try to offer words of comfort, food, and money. The police would release a composite sketch quickly of the clean-cut man seen talking to Gene. There was a fund set up to help the Martins in their search for their son. In one day, it went from $64,000 to over $110,000. In October, the police received a tape, and from that would have their first suspect that they would share. On this tape is a confession from an employee that worked at the Des Moines Register, explaining how he had molested several paperboys. This piece of shit is Frank Sikora. The name Sikora was already known to the police because the brother James had been arrested and convicted for sodomizing a 10-year-old paperboy prior to this confession. Sikora stated he would tell the paper carriers that he would drive them to each of the stops the next morning so they could stay over at his house the night before. During this stay, he would show the children porn and assault them. Police would clear Sikora with connection to Jean and Johnny's disappearance with a polygraph test, but he would get convicted of only 2 counts of sexual assault. He admitted to assaulting 14 children and only got 2 counts. He was sentenced to 10 years, but would only serve 4 before being released. Another suspect is Samuel Soda. He fit the description of the clean-cut man that was talking to Johnny. Soda was a Marine vet serving 2 tours in Vietnam. He worked as an Army recruiter in New York, had an auto parts store in Kansas, was a police officer in Des Moines, and then would start his private investigation company called Scared. Stolen children are reported daily, is what it stands for. Soda had been married 3 times and had 6 children. He would travel throughout the state telling the dangers of the child predator rings. He had graphic photographs of children that he had acquired through investigating that were used as props to show people the dangers of sex trafficking rings.
More like he got into sex trafficking, became a private investigator to get off on.
And newsflash, this is a crime.
Oh my God.
Prosecutors, however, in the area would turn their heads to it like, it isn't okay, but we aren't going to press charges.
I'm seeing a pattern here of Des Moines police and law enforcers and all of that bullshit not doing their fucking job.
Exactly. Soda would end up closing the organization he created after only a year and decide to run for public office.
Oh, man.
During his run, he would make claims that he was awarded 2 Purple Hearts and 2 Bronze Stars as a Marine for his service in Vietnam. It was determined that that was a lie. There was no record of Soda ever receiving any type of award or medal, and he only served 1 year in Vietnam, not the 2 tours that he said before. He did get a job with the zoning commission. 2 years later, Soda would be arrested for beating his 11-year-old stepson. Many claims of sexual assault, organized crime, and very highly circumstantial evidence made Soda a suspect. What information Soda knew went with him when he passed away in 2020. Jumping back to 1985, some strange occurrences happened while the search for Johnny and Jean continued. One instance was when a cashier at a grocery store was given a dollar bill. That's not strange, just typical, but on that dollar bill was the words, "I am alive," and it was signed Johnny Gosh. 3 different handwriting experts looked over the signature and it was believed to be authentic. The Goshes would then offer a $400,000 reward for the return of their son. More bills would turn up with Johnny's supposed signature. The FBI determined these additional bills were fake. A letter would come in the mail stating that Johnny had been kidnapped and sold in Mexico. A member of the biker group offered to get Johnny back for a $10,000 fee. It was a scam. He was arrested and sentenced to 3 years. The following year, another man tried the same scam, but was willing to do it for only $2,500. He met with undercover detectives posing as the Goshes and was arrested on the spot. In 1986, police executed search warrants of every known sex offender in the area. During that search, another suspect emerged. Wilbur Millhouse. He also worked at the Des Moines Register as the manager. Upon arrest, police noted that Millhouse made a statement that if Johnny had kept his mouth shut about something, nothing would have happened to him. During the investigation, police found 2,200 paper carriers' phone numbers written in yearbooks and baseball rosters. During the investigation, police found 2,200 paper carriers' phone numbers written in yearbooks and baseball rosters next to the names. Millhouse would call to see if they were interested in getting a job as a newspaper carrier, and then call back later to solicit sex. He would only be charged with 6 counts of luring a child into his home and sentenced to 30 years. Milhouse was released in 2000, moved to Kansas in 2005, and died in 2015. Why wasn't he questioned more regarding that statement? What the hell did he know?
My confused ass is, why did the piece of shit that admitted to sexually assaulting the 13 or
14 children.
14 children got only 2 of them convicted of? He had
4 years in prison. I mean, he was sentenced to 10,
but he only
but
got out
4.
in 4. And then this dude gets 30 years? How the fuck does that work?
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is because it was a possibility of 2,200 children that he tried to...
Yeah, but...
yeah, that's the only thing.
But I mean, he confessed to assaulting...
Yeah, 14 children. Yeah. So when his brother assaulted the 10-year-old boy, he was also there.
This is a bunch of fuckery.
Yeah, it is.
And bullshit.
Mark Allen was 13 years old in March of 1986. Mark's parents were divorced, and he primarily lived with his mom and would visit his dad often. On March 29, 1986, Mark would leave out his front door and wave bye to his mom. As he was leaving, he asked his mom to save him a slice of pizza for when he got back. Mark still has not come home. When Mark's mom reported him missing, the police believed he just ran away to go to his dad's. Mark never showed up to his dad's house either. Mark's mom said that he was a very good kid and got good grades. He had never run away before. Something happened to him. In 1990, a skeleton was found and at that time was thought to be a teenage boy. Mark was then added to the list of the abducted children from Des Moines. The skeleton would be later identified as a female, then a victim of the serial killer Marvin Irvin. July 10, 1986, Jim Pollock was 15 years old. He was walking along 42nd Street delivering papers. A man ran across the street and tried to hold Jim's arms behind his back. Jim was able to hit the attacker and run home. Jim could not see his attacker's face, but said that he was wearing camouflage over his face and was very strong. Jim also told police that weeks before, a man had chased him back to his house, but it wasn't reported at the time. Jim wasn't sure if it was the same guy. Police kept quiet about this attack, but believed it was related to the missing boys. On August 16, 1986, 16-year-old Jason Rogers would come to visit the area of Des Moines for the state fair. During this visit, Jason would disappear. It was believed that he might have been kidnapped also, but Jason's parents would receive a call from Jason, who was in California. He was unharmed and actually planned his own disappearance because he said he was tired of being treated like a child. He ran out of money, so he called his parents for help. In September of 1998, in Indianola, an unnamed paper carrier between the ages of 10 to 13 would be chased back to his home by a man in a white van. November 1st, 1988, Mike Fackler was delivering papers in the town of Clive when a heavy-set man jumped out of a white van and started running towards Mike. Mike would drop his bag and run screaming towards one of the homes he usually delivered to. He was pounding on the door, and by the time the homeowners got to the door, the guy had disappeared. July 17, 1989, a 10-year-old paper carrier was delivering papers in Indianola when he spotted a white van with a red top following him. The van would pull up beside him and the driver would get out and begin screaming at him and threatening the boy to get into the van or he would stab him. The man was able to catch the boy and began dragging him back to the van. The boy was able to break loose from his sweater and run away to a nearby home. Police and others began to take these potential abductions more seriously. A composite sketch was then released. The suspect appeared to be a white male in his 40s with salt and pepper hair. He was 6'2" and walked with a limp. September 14, 1989, 11-year-old Melissa Gale was delivering papers in Des Moines. As she was walking along her route, a man in a dark blue Chevy Chevette pulled into the driveway in front of her. The man ordered her to get into the car. Melissa's dad was helping her, and she ran back to where he was. Melissa's dad told him to get out of the vehicle, and the man would not exit his car. He backed up from the driveway and headed in the opposite direction. The case of the abducted paper carriers would get a break when 21-year-old Paul Benassi would come forward. Benassi would file a lawsuit against Lawrence King and several other individuals, claiming that they had been sexually assaulting him for many years. He said as far back as 6 years old. Benassi also claimed that he knew what happened to the boys that were abducted, and he was specifically involved in the kidnapping of Johnny. So I wasn't going to go into the detail of necessarily of Lawrence King, but I did do a side note. Lawrence King was part of the Franklin Credit Union scandal. There's a lot of information on that, where him and other associates were convicted of embezzling over $35 million. King and other individuals in powerful positions, like senators, would be accused of running and being part of a child trafficking ring. Children from the foster care system were brought into homes of these individuals to entertain. Some would be hidden during the parties, and then if King wanted something from the powerful individuals, there could be arrangements made, and the children were used as leverage. The lead investigator of that case had a briefcase that supposedly had all of the evidence needed to put King away for life, and all other individuals that were involved. The investigator was traveling back and forth with the briefcase. He was flying his private plane, and it exploded in midair mysteriously.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. The briefcase was nowhere to be found. And after he died, the other witnesses or victims recanted their stories, and the case was closed. Benassi explained that there was a specific home in Colorado that some of the parties were held at. Here, the children would be hidden under the house. Benassi was interviewed for an America's Most Wanted episode. He was able to lead them directly to the home and show everyone where the children were kept. Interestingly, the owner, a prison guard, appeared to have gotten word of the investigation and just abandoned the property. He has never been found. Benassi was also able to draw up a map with the exact location of where Johnny was abducted. He also explained that he was given orders by a man named Emilio, who was under orders from King to carry this out. He was to chloroform Johnny once he was in the back seat of the vehicle. Benassi was able to describe details of Johnny that have never been released by police or the media. Details like his mom was a yoga instructor, the hidden birthmark, and that Johnny would stammer when he is anxious. Police refused to investigate anything, Benassi said, believing that he was just a pathological liar. So police asked Benassi's family members, and the family stated, oh, he was here that night. So the police didn't care. They didn't want to investigate anything. They just went with that, and that was that, because Benassi was a convicted sex offender as well.
But yet he knew specifics about the case that no one else really knew.
Yeah. And when asked to draw the map, most people that would say where Johnny was kidnapped was on the corner, and he actually wasn't kidnapped. He wasn't taken from the corner. He was taken down from that. And he knew the exact location. So I
get you where you're going.
When questioned, police stated that they will question Benassi when they feel there is a need to. So during the episode, the reporter is asking, when are you going to question him? Like, when are you going to investigate this? Like, he's saying he has all these details and he knows information. You would think that you would be like pounding on the door to try and get the information.
I mean, even if it's just a lead, you follow those leads.
Right.
Even if it's a little breadcrumb, you pick up that breadcrumb.
Right, absolutely. And the officer was smirking when he was saying it and just said, we'll do it when we need to. Yeah, the officer that was being questioned said that they will question him when they feel there is a need to. So Benassi would file another lawsuit against King in 1999. King refused to show up, and Benassi was awarded $1 million by default. The judge stated that Benassi's testimony was consistent and credible. Consistent and credible.
But yet, what he said is not true.
Right. During the trial, Noreen was asked to testify. She was asked if she has ever seen her son since. She actually said yes in 1997. She said Johnny stated that he had been abducted and was used in a trafficking ring and was just recently released because he wasn't needed anymore. He was afraid to come forward for the threats that were made to him daily. Some of the threats included that they would kill him, they would kill his family, they would kill everybody that he knew and loved. Noreen stated that she knew the man was her son because of his birthmarks. They had an hour-long conversation, and that was the last time she saw Johnny, or at least that was the last time she has reported seeing Johnny.
For some reason, that just gave me like goosebumps all over my skin. I don't know why, but it just made my hair stand up.
Yeah.
Because that's just, your son came to you and, I mean, I get not going to the police because the police don't do fucking shit.
Right.
But then you let your son just go? Like,
yeah, I don't know if he went back into hiding or, I'm
so confused.
Yeah. And so with that, when she said that the reason why she said that was because she was under oath and she couldn't lie. So she said, yeah, I have seen my son. A lot of people locally, though, think that she's crazy. And she said, I don't care. Like, I've seen my son. I know it was him. Police say that she has made similar statements. Yes, thank you. That she has made similar statements and then recanted them.
But she could be making the statements and then recanting them because she doesn't want to put Johnny in danger.
Right.
Or she could be just crazy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine
I can't even imagine even trying to make up a story like that.
Yeah. That is wild.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of theories, but the ones that I chose to talk about are that they were abducted and that they were trafficked. That is where most of the evidence leads. The evidence from all the families, what they've gathered. Johnny was abducted because of something his dad was involved in with the farm chemicals. So Johnny's mom, Noreen, was a yoga instructor, and his dad, John, was a businessman regarding farm chemicals. So some of the theories said that there's a possibility that the dad was involved with something or knew something and Johnny was taken as leverage, but there was never any ransom demands or anything of that nature. Another theory, a very strong theory that many people had, is that Johnny Gosh is alive and is in fact Jeff Gannon, the White House reporter for 2005. Gannon was asked to give a DNA sample to show that he isn't Johnny Gosh. This is just wild to me. So I don't know what made them think. I don't know if he has a similar birthmark on his body.
Same birthmark, or he could just have really similar features.
Yeah, that was one of the main things, is that like his features look similar. And when the FBI did this is what he could possibly look like today, someone said, well, if he was bald, he would look like Gannon. And but Gannon's real name is actually James Gucker, and he was born in 1957, which would make him older than Gosh, almost a decade.
Could he have faked his papers somehow?
Possibly. I mean, he already faked his name.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throwing out shit.
Yeah. 1 year after Benassi's trial, an unmarked manila envelope would be placed at Noreen's doorstep. Inside the envelope were 2 pictures of a boy that had been tied up. There was also a picture of a man. It is believed that the pictures were of Johnny. That is what Noreen believes. The pictures ended up being traced back to a group of boys that took the pictures in Florida in 1979, so a few years before Johnny had been taken. Police did not keep those original pictures, though, so there isn't anything concrete to compare them to actually prove that they are the pictures from 1979 and not pictures from after 1982.
What the fuck?
We're just going to marinate for a second. And it didn't say that they were damaged. Like, it didn't say that the pictures were damaged. It just said they didn't have them anymore. Like, they didn't keep them. So I don't know if they were like, oh, solve the case and it's done. We don't have the pictures. Which even then, when you solve a case, I
You
don't
still
think,
keep
yeah,
the evidence.
yeah. So I'm not sure what happened to the pictures.
There's something going on.
Additional information that I found interesting is, so John Rossi was the dad that had saw the car pull up next to Johnny. He actually went under hypnosis to see if he could recall the license plate number of the car he saw, and he could not, unfortunately. The cases of the missing children are still open and being investigated.
Not good enough, apparently. No.
Yeah. So the case of Gene Martin, the then governor personally called and said that he had a personal interest in the case. Why?
What the fuck?
He actually called the family, and the governor's name was Terry Branston. I don't know if it was like he's trying to show support, saying, I have a personal interest in this case, so we're going to make sure that it gets solved.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's what I hope.
Yeah.
There was a case that I did that they had a new, basically, governor come in for that state or whatever, and he personally seen to it that the case was solved. Yeah. So I understand that, but I don't think he personally called
the family.
Maybe he possibly, if I remember correctly, possibly could have set up a meeting with them just to get facts and stuff, but or like to have them meet up with a new like investigator. But like calling them personally and saying like, oh, I have an interest in it. That's weird.
Yeah, I agree. That
if you say you have an interest in it, but then don't do anything about it.
Right. Because to my knowledge, Gene Martin is still missing as well. So in Des Moines at that time, there's a local grocery store called Hy-Vee. They asked if they could put the pictures of Johnny and Gene on their bags with the reward information. So on all of their shopping bags, they had that information on there.
That's really, I don't want to say that's really nice. That's just...
Yeah. That's the other thing too. Like, what do you say?
It's very thoughtful.
Yes. Yeah. Very thoughtful. In another one, there is a local dairy company called Anderson Erickson Dairy Company. An employee asked for permission if he could take the pictures and reward information and put it on the milk cartons. The family said yes. The company said yes. And unfortunately, that is how the pictures on milk cartons began.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. The Des Moines Police Department is under scrutiny for the way they handled the cases of the abducted children. I would hope so. Some of the parents stated that the police said not to talk to the media or to any of the other families. Why?
What the fuck?
Like, if they're not getting answers, or they're not getting support from the police or like other services, why can't they reach out to other families? And
what if they can share insight on what happened and figure something out?
Yeah. And Gene and Johnny lived very close. And same with some of the other children who were abducted and lived close by. Some of the, like in Indianola and Clive, I think it's like 15 minutes away, but it's still close enough that all those children were, like, somebody could remember something, like they saw the man at the baseball park or something like that.
Yeah. That was one of my questions. How far was it from Indianola to Des Moines? That's what I was curious about.
I think it was about 15 miles or 15 minutes away.
Which isn't that far.
No.
First thing I wrote is, he wasn't a fucking runaway.
Right.
That pisses me off like no tomorrow.
Like, that's the instant, like, that's the first thing that pops in their head. Oh, they must be a runaway. How? There's like no record of him ever. Yeah. And he was literally working.
He was working. And he was like just finishing up his
to continue on his route. Like there was an adult that saw him, there was multiple kids that saw him. And if he was going to take off, why would he go? I don't know. He's never had any history of anything of that nature.
Well, he also had his dog with him too.
Yeah. And he had his dog Gretchen with him, so he's not just going to take off.
Did we hear what happened to Gretchen or no?
She was back home. She made it back home.
My next thing is, we kind of talked about it, but why not release the sketch?
Yeah, that infuriated me. I did see a sketch of what the composite sketch that the police had at first, or at least think it was the initial composite sketch. And it was almost spot on to the ones that the Goshes released.
And then what confuses me is they would release the sketch for Gene.
Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that was because the law had passed within that time frame. So like Johnny went missing in 82 and Gene 84. Yeah.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But even after the finally doing something after fucking 2 days, why wouldn't you release a sketch?
Yeah. And that I don't understand why. And that's the police still believed that he was a runaway. They still did not believe that he was abducted until other children started
going missing.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
They say, we can investigate after 24 hours, but don't investigate until 48 hours later.
Right. They did send some officers out to help do like an initial search, for like the area. Like I think there was a couple of fields that they helped look through. Yeah. But not like a full investigation started until 2 days after he had been missing.
Yeah. The only thing I can really think was the chief that also got in trouble for all of those things part of
the trafficking ring, maybe?
Trafficking ring, or part of something else.
Yeah.
Or he was getting paid to keep quiet.
Yeah. There's all kinds of scenarios that run through my mind when I was researching this case.
Was the Johnny Gosh law only in Iowa?
The Johnny Gosh law was passed in Iowa and then has since been adopted by 8 states.
Okay.
So only 8 states have
what the fuck?
Made it to where as soon as a child has been reported missing, they take immediate action.
That was kind of my next question. It's not necessarily on this case, but in general, is all the states moved to searching immediately, or is some states still 24 hours?
I'm assuming some are still 24 hours, depending on, I'm going to say the police are probably going to say depending on each case. Yeah.
Well, there's like the Brandon Swanson case where they passed the law that no matter the age, you have to do an immediate search.
Yeah.
Which should be everywhere.
Absolutely.
And I mean, especially when like the FBI says the first 24 to 72 hours are the most crucial. You would think that all of the states everywhere would adapt to that.
Yeah, absolutely. You would think.
Infuriating. What was Soda sentenced when? It just said that he died in 2020 before he could.
He was arrested for beating his stepson.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like in jail when he died. He just.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm assuming he probably got like a slap on the wrist or.
Oh, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
There is a theory too that he was, if he wasn't like the mastermind behind it all, he was definitely
part of
it, and that he actually fits the description of and looks like some of the sketches.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't a sex traffic ring, my thought is it could be a person, which I've seen this in a case.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done this case, and I can't remember quite exactly whose case this was.
Mm-hmm.
But it's where a piece of shit, obviously,
yeah,
kidnapped boys and then just kept them and sexually assaulted them as they grew up. And would keep kidnapping new boys, but also keep the previous ones that he kidnapped. And the way they caught him was the older victim, I can't remember what age, but he was like in his late teens, basically was forced to help kidnap a young boy, and he just couldn't do it. So he ran away with the young boy and came out and said, this is what happened.
Wow.
So my thought is, could something like that happen as well?
Yeah.
If it wasn't the sex trafficking ring, which I'm kind of leaning towards, I would think. But I don't know. It's just so...
There's so many unanswered, and that first bit of time is so crucial.
Yeah. And the police were basically like, well... Fucking...
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much all of my questions and thoughts besides what the fuck, because that's our key slogan.
Right. I swear for the past, 6 cases.
Pretty much since the end of December.
Yeah.
Once we started the fucking cults.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
The cults started it all.
If you have any information, no matter how small you might think it is, it could literally be the one thing to connect points of the case or cases. So again, if you have anything that you can add, anything that you saw, anything that you might have heard, please call the Missing and Exploited Children hotline at 1-800-THE-LOST or 1-800-843-5678. Or you can call the Des Moines Police Department at 515-222-3399. As stated earlier, the most critical time is the first 48 to 72 hours. If someone you love goes missing, begin by doing these 4 things. 1. File a missing persons report. 2. Gather general information of the person. A clear description of the person with what they were last seen in, recent photo and or video of them, any phone numbers they have, gather additional evidence, electronic devices. 3. DNA sample, hairbrush, toothbrush, medical, dental records. And number 4, stay in touch with local investigators and keep them updated with new information.
Our heart goes out to the victims in this case and all individuals affected. With that is all we have for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Girls Gone Curious Podcast. Until next time.